This time on the show, let the ownage begin. Viss shares with us his Eagle Eye tool for evaluating tens of thousands of potentially insecure, publicly accessible web servers with ease. What's out there? Red light cameras, industrial automation systems, power plants? Oh my! Then I'll be controlling my MK802 with a phone. That's Android on Android action to the one there. Plus, war dialing. You heard me right, not driving, dialing. Senor Jiffy Pop explains why having your computer dial 10,000 phone numbers in the middle of the night is still quite relevant. Take that out of band security, all that and more, this time on Hak5. This segment of Hak5 is brought to you by domain.com.
Hello, welcome to Hak5. My name is Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Morse.
It's your weekly dose of Technolust.
Hello out there.
Good evening, internets.
Hey, guess what?
What?
I have a new little part-time gig on the side.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Before You Buy, I'm producing.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting an idea of how it works behind the camera as well as on site hosting.
No way.
Yeah.
So your first producer gig.
Yeah, it is. It's very exciting and it's a lot of fun. So, you know, it's nothing like hosting, you know, my real one passion, but it's pretty cool.
Nice.
So I'm
now
excited.
You're doing it all.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Way to go.
But Hak5 is still my love and joy.
Well,
so.
where can people check it out?
It's on Twit, so it's twit.tv/BYB. Yeah.
BYB.
BYB, before you buy.
All right.
Yay. What about you? What's new? How was TourCon?
TourCon was excellent. I
my
love
gosh.
Tour anything. I really wish that I could go to the tour to the end of the world thing. It's just way too much money.
That would be cool.
But
now I heard that you might have gotten a really cool coin while you were there.
You're gonna call me out on that, okay? Yeah, I mean, we sponsored the event, which was a lot of fun. And you guys should check out the TourCon badge because Mike Osmond did a great job.
That was really cool.
It's like it's
a radio, isn't it?
It's a radio. It does. I want to say, I don't remember off the top of my head, but somewhere around 200 megahertz, like 950 megahertz. So within the ISM band there, it's a transceiver, and it's a totally populated board. So a lot of times you'll go to a hacker conference and it's like, oh, if you solder on all this stuff, you can make it do something. But for this TourCon, it was like totally ready to go.
Oh,
and
cool.
they had a competition of like, hey, who can plug it into a computer and using this open source tool called RFCat, interface with the chip on there, CC1111, which is like it's a Texas Instrument chip that allows you to do basic communications over this, sub 1 gigahertz band. And so they had an awesome competition to see like who could put together some elite hacks for it. We'll be showing some off here real soon. Yeah,
oh,
but
so excited to see that.
But the Root the Box team came up with basically like an IRC style chat over 900 megahertz with this badge, which is so cool.
Wow.
So we'll be talking about that more in the future because I made sure to grab 2 of them so we can do a little demo here.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so we were sponsoring the badge. That was so fun. I took Mike Osmond's workshop, which is like my first time doing that kind of stuff. Oh my God, my mind just totally got blown.
I bet you learned so much.
Well, I love that kind of stuff because normally I'm used to like having to do the other end of it and just to like sit there and like soak up something that I knew nothing about, well, some about, and just geek out about modulation and stuff for a couple days was so much fun.
It sounds like Darren's dream world.
It totally is. And so I had a lot of fun with that. And then I guess what you're mentioning is the challenge coin. It
was for a donation, right?
Right. So there's at the end of every TourCon, they do like an auction for the foundation. And then one of the things that the TourCon people do is there's TourCon San Diego, which is like totally open for anybody. And then there's TourCon Seattle, and the only way to go to that is to be like, friend of the group, be a speaker. Okay. And I was thinking about it going and speaking, but I also wanted to kind of like donate. And it was when Viss, in fact, we got a segment here from Viss, or Dan Tentler, as you may know him as, auctioned up his challenge coin to get into this conference. And I'm like, oh, dude, 1, I got to get it because it's Viss's, and 2, I want to support the thing. So it was really fun bidding, 256 and then 384 and then
what? Are you serious?
And then 512 and then fine 640.
Oh my gosh.
I was expecting.
I bet that was cracking everyone up.
Yeah, I did one of those things where I'm like, all right, I'm not going to spend more than 1024 on this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But you got a bid base too. That was anyway. So that's just irrelevant of the conference. TourCon itself is amazing. You have to go. It's totally like family, tribal, amazing. The guys. Gio and Hikari and Tim and everybody that put it on are like the coolest people. Yeah, so I can't speak highly enough about this conference
Yeah,
and
I've
the
missed
cool stuff
TourCon.
that
It's
came
been a
from it.
while.
Yeah, it moved from the conference center to the West End in San Diego, and the best
really?
part was the bar. You could go and get this. One of my favorites right now is Moscow Mule. It's like it's a ginger beer and vodka or something like that, and they had it like it was like $10 for one cocktail, or you could get a pitcher for $18. It was like a special.
Oh my god!
And there's like 10 cocktails in there for like $8 more. So
Need
you
to bring
literally
one of those to work.
Well, you go to the why not? Try that at Twit.
Yeah, they won't mind.
So the best part though is you can go to like I saw Coz's talk again. I saw Viss's talk. I saw a bunch of awesome Mike Osmond's talk. I got to like sit in the front row where they've got like chairs and tables, and you can just sit there with your friends like pouring Moscow Mules, watching talks the whole time.
That's awesome.
Never have to go to the bar. It's so great.
Dude, that's totally laid back.
Warm
It's
fuzzies.
great.
We need to have like a bar camp.
Yeah,
Down here
I
with
agree.
pictures
That would be
of.
so much fun.
We need to have like a beer and gear in Point Richmond and just like break out some of the dev tools that we're working on for fun, crazy stuff.
Man,
in the
that would
future.
be good times. Oh, and hey, you know what? Happy Halloween, guys.
Yeah.
Because Halloween means candy and excitement and costumes. So happy Halloween.
Hack your Halloween.
Hack your Halloween with candy.
Yes. Well, I guess
And
we
RF
should.
sensors.
I know that you're hacking your Android.
Oh yeah.
With Halloween goodness as well.
I am,
What's going on
yes.
with that?
Yeah, I was able to figure out how to put a remote control like onto your phone, so you can use your you use your phone as a remote to your MK802. Your
So like
little Android
VNC
PC.
into it?
Yeah, so it's totally like using a Google PC without a keyboard and a mouse, and everything's just built in.
Well, what's a keyboard and mouse anymore?
I know, right?
The whole paradigm of computing has changed so much in the last couple of years that it's just like, what's a computer? I just feel
computer.
I'm a computer. Anyway, pork chop sandwiches. We're gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna check in with Viss and find out about his awesome tool Eagle Eye, which in conjunction with some other internet search engines that elude me at the moment that I can't remember, but it's awesome banner grabbing goodness. Shodan, thank you. Little guy right there. Thank you, little guy. And worst throw ever. Be right back with Viss.
He needs beer.
Yes. If you're setting up a website to start a new business, showcase your portfolio, or publish your blog, domain.com is the best place for your next great idea. You see, if you need a new domain name, consider registering yourself a .com. I know it's kind of obvious, but a .com is the original. It's best. It's like globally understood, immediately lends credibility to your website no matter what you choose. I'd benefit if you invest in selling domain names. .coms have the highest aftermarket value, but get this. If you find yourself needing a .com, then domain.com, it turns out they actually have them and they can sell them to you. It's what Shannon and I do. We go over there because they're affordable, they're reliable, they're easy to use, and best of all, they've got an active social media presence on Twitter. Their customer support is great. It's just a fun place to do business. Tweet them at domain.com. Let them know we sent you. Head over to domain.com and they're gonna hook you up with a great offer, 15% off. They're already affordable domain names and web hosting. All you have to do is use the coupon code HAK5 at domain.com's checkout. That's 15% and big savings. Don't forget to use the coupon code HAK5. When you think domain names, think domain.com. So Viss, what was wrong with the traditional kind of search engines like Google and Lycos and Alta Vista and Dogcrawler, and name some other old ones?
Oh, Dogpile. I forget. There was Web Spider at some point, I think. I don't remember. What's wrong with them? Well, I don't know. That's sort of a trick question. There's nothing necessarily wrong with them. They don't return a lot of stuff sometimes, and like one of the things Google's doing lately, which is making people annoyed and making people go to places like DuckDuckGo, is they're customizing results based on things they know about you. They're customizing results of your searches based on previous searches or your location or things like that. So if you want to search for blah, you get what Google thinks you should see for blah, not what you want to see for blah.
I will say that is kind of annoying, and that's why I use like an incognito browser sometimes, where I'm just like, what is the popularity of X? Not the popularity of X in relationship to me,
Right.
but yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it makes things difficult. But so typical search engines are for websites, like web stuff. There is no search engine for port scans. There's no search engine for how many port 3389s are there open across the world. But fortunately, a fellow San Diegan wrote one several years ago, and it's been circling the internet, collecting things ever since.
That's amazing. So, I mean, it's kind of like harkening back to early days of like, you know, war dialing or port scanning, and like the idea of like you've got your private collection. So is this a site that aggregates? People can like, hey, upload their collections, or does it actually do the crawling much like a Lycos or a Google would?
Well, the author is kicking around the idea of allowing people to upload their own scans. But for now, what it's doing is sweeping the entire IPv4 internet on something along the lines of 15 or 12 ports, and keeping and aggregating the TCP banners. So the standard stuff you see when you, for example, connect to an FTP server, it says, welcome to blah, blah, blah FTP server. Well, it takes that, puts it in a database, and it's indexed now, so you can search against it.
And so as an attacker or a security researcher, somebody trying to do some ridiculous hacker gymnastics, what's the benefit of that to you, as opposed to just like, here's the website?
So you might remember last year, or maybe it was the year before, there's this RDP bug that came out, and everybody thought, oh crap, wait, my organization might have RDP exposed to the internet. You can go to Shodan and search port 3389, and it'll just show you thousands and thousands of results. They also have a Python API that you can call to say, sweet, okay, I found several 100,000 results. What can I do with them? You write a Python script. The Python script talks to the API, and it gives you the straight IP address. And then you can, you know, for each IP address in giant list, do this, and then thread it.
So if, for example, I don't know, maybe there's a VNC bug, or some old FTP daemon has a bug, and you're like, I wonder how many, like, you know, Power FTP version 2.1s there are kicking around, and you find the banners of those, then you're saying with a little bit of Python foo, ...
You pipe the results directly into Metasploit or Armitage, done, and you go from stuff in a search engine to a tactical single pane of glass that has several hundred thousand hosts in it that have known vulnerabilities. I mean, you can literally go from, I did a search on a web or on a search engine to shells in like one step. It's insane.
So what kind of banners are you seeing? FTP, SMTP, what kind of stuff?
So the basis of all of my talks that I've been doing for the last, say, year and a half have been, okay, well, we know that we can go to the internet and we can find IIS-5. We know that we can go to the internet and we can find Apache 1. Whatever. We know that we can go and find people running old versions of VNC, old versions of... That's fine and dandy. Everybody does that. As soon as people found out about Shodan, that's the first thing that's everybody's going to do. They're, Shodan, this seems interesting. So they're going to think of the first thing that comes to mind. They're going to go and they're going to search for it. So I said, okay, well, that's covered. There's thousands of people doing this stuff. What else is there? So like, take all the interesting stuff that people find on the internet and put it aside. What's left? A lot of really scary things.
Give me an example.
So there's this company called Pips. They make a system called Autoplate. Autoplate is the system that's attached to the cameras at red lights that photograph you when you go through the red light.
How do they report those photographs of you running the red light back to the agency?
I'm not 100% sure, but I know that they communicate via HTTP and FTP with no encryption of any kind. They listen on both Telnet and Port 80.
You listen on Telnet?
Yep. And actually in my presentation there's a screenshot that I've taken from one of these systems. There are no credentials or authentication required. You Telnet in, and inside the banner it says, you know, Viss system with no security. Flat out tells you there's no security on the system. You can change the FTP settings to send the pictures of things to your servers. You can turn on security and scare the crap out of the sysadmins. Or you can connect to the web interface and watch the thing take pictures of cars as they go through the intersection. Something I didn't know until yesterday at about 5 p.m. when I found the actual web interface of this thing. When you drive through these intersections, they take the pictures of your car.
Wait, only if you run the red, right?
Oh. It just scrolls. You can sit there and watch it go.
And are these the kind of systems that do like OCR on your license plate?
Yep. Yep. And if it has a good, it even gives you the percentage of confidence it has of the read of your license plate.
That is so fantastic. I'm just thinking about the correlation of data and the tracking of cars. You can generate a heat map.
Presumably, if you get access to enough of these systems, yeah, you could do. Remember
It sounds like getting access to these systems is fairly trivial, considering what you've just said.
Well, right. The idea is finding them, and they're not so easy to find. So that's another issue that I talk about. Where so you're getting into this habit of let's go on the internet and find random crap. Well, what happens if you have 400,000 results? How do you parse that? Like, what do you do? Right. If you have 400,000 machines that are running port 80 and are running something interesting. How do you wrap your head around, let's look at all of these 400,000 things and see which ones are the interesting ones that we want to play with.
So rather than you just going, oh, look at this list, and one at a time, you're trying to come up with a systematic approach to taking advantage of things based on what signatures that you find in banners?
Oh, a lot simpler. I actually wrote a Python script that has a whole bunch of threads that will just go out and screenshot everything. You look at several 100,000 or several thousand tiny thumbnails of websites, it's a lot easier to figure out what's interesting than going to every single website individually by hand. And then if you sort by size, the interesting ones go to the top. So you start at the interesting ones. And then the ones that are like the Apache It Works page, or 404s or 403s, or like the simple black and white texts that aren't custom, they go to the bottom because they're like 10K, 20K. Then you have, the 16 meg images that go straight to the top that are a picture of something or a Flash applet or something like that.
And so this code of yours, is this getting integrated with Shodan? Is it something that you can use in addition to it on your own servers? How does that work?
It's just a Python script. If you go to Shodan and you get an API key, you plug the API key into the script and you can run the script against Shodan, until you're blue in the face.
And where can people get your script?
It's on GitHub. So github.com/Viss.
VISS. Awesome. So what do you think is the inherent vulnerability here? Is it that banners are being displayed at all, or what? Like, I won't tell you what service I am, but I'm running on port 21 and I'd like files.
Well, there isn't really much of a vulnerability to speak of. It's 2012 and people still think security through obscurity works. People still think, oh, if I put this on a Verizon MiFi, or I run it through a cell phone, or it's on a DHCP dial-up or something to that effect, or cable modem, oh, it's DHCP, nobody will ever find it. Yeah, they find it. So
do you think that's kind of an issue of, like, there will always be like a revolving door of people that get into systems administration and they just haven't learned that lesson yet, and the people getting out of it are the ones that did learn that lesson and are now making bank in computer security?
No, some of these systems aren't ever touched by sysadmins. Some of these systems are, Caltrans workers that are, they work with cabling and they wear hard hats. Like, it's not their job to be sysadmins or security people. So these are the people setting up the systems. In other cases, when you have like scary SCADA stuff that's available on the internet, they're facilities people. These are people that deal. They're civil engineers and they deal with structures and architecture and stuff like that. Like, it's not their responsibility to know this stuff. I think that the inherent logical flaw is that people are less inclined or not inclined, or just don't even know that they should be roping security into this stuff before it goes live. That's the general broad analysis I can come up with.
That's awesome. So what have I not asked you that I need to be asking you about your presentation?
What happened when the government called me?
Yeah, so the government, they weren't so happy about you checking out the security cameras?
Oh, it wasn't even the security cameras. It was worse than that. It was, so I'm trolling around on Shodan and I find this thing. And this thing is very poorly, there's a screenshot of it in my talk. It looks horrible. And have you ever seen those Java placeholders when you have a Java applet and you don't let it run, like in Chrome, you get this little gray box?
Yeah. Little like Lego brick or something.
Yeah, imagine something like that that's really wide and really short. And like 10 of them scattered randomly across a page. I'm like, oh, this doesn't look like malware or anything. Next. So I took a screenshot and I put it on Twitter. And some guy said, no, that's actually okay. You can run that. I'm like, oh, sure. Yeah, okay. I'll run that there, tough guy. Yeah, it's probably your malware, isn't it? He's like, no, I promise. I've seen these systems before. They're not malware. All right,
so you put in a VM, of course?
Yep. Spun up a VM and I spun up a VM, connected to it, and looked at it, and certainly enough, he was right. They're just text boxes, little black text boxes. And I'm watching these text boxes move around, and they say KW and MW. And I sort of blinked, and I'm like, this is all in French. But if I'm not mistaken, those are kilowatts and megawatts. Okay. What? So I asked the guy for his email, and I took a screenshot and sent it to him privately because I didn't want to publish that online, and said, what do you make of this? And he responded basically with one line saying, that's a good find. You should hear from some interesting people tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Some random guy on Twitter, oh, interesting people are going to call you. Sure, okay. No, 8:30 the next morning, the DHS called me. Hi, Dan. I'm like, hello?
Did you say, hi, the government?
Hi. Well, no, I asked him if I needed to be fitted for cuffs, and the guy chuckled. Because he woke me up when he called, and I rolled over and I answered the phone. I'm like, hello. He said, hey, this is Anthony. I'm calling from ISC CERT. We're a division of the DHS. We're calling about your tweet yesterday. And I went, And I said, you know, what are the charges, basically? And he said, oh, don't sweat it. We're calling because we're the guys that need to clean up the mess. I said, really? He says, yeah, the government actually formed ICS CERT, which stands for Industrial Control Systems Computer Emergency Response Team.
Oh, yeah, they do the reports every year about how we are.
Yeah, pretty much. So these guys have and I am not jealous of their jobs, they have the prestigious position of chasing down stuff like what I found, and then working with the security researcher and the system owner to try and get the system, at the very least, taken off the internet, at the very best, upgraded to something worthwhile. This particular system runs front page. Somebody thought it was a good idea to take front page and put it on SCADA equipment, connect it to a 5 megawatt hydroelectric plant in France, and put it on the internet. Nobody had a problem with this.
This is awesome.
They have the best drugs, I guess. I lack the expletives. Like, what? Front page on SCADA. What the? I don't know. So at this point, I'm not sure what to make of it. I just keep finding it and throwing it over the fence to ISC CERT. I'm like, here's another crazy one for you. Here's some scotch. Go. Yeah, it's so.
My heart goes out to them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm very nice to them. I bought them lunch at DEF CON. But yeah. So I don't know. It's and hopefully it's been a wild ride so far, and I keep finding more interesting stuff. I mean, even though like I was preparing my talk this week, and one of the most interesting things I found so far, I found yesterday, an hour before I came here.
What was that?
Oh, the license plate thing. Yeah. So, it's completely open-ended. Everything that you can think of, somebody has had the genius idea of putting a web server on it and attaching it to the internet. Refrigerators, humidifiers, washing machines. Seriously, you.
But isn't that the beauty of the connected world?
Oh, that's what everybody was saying. Oh, IPv6. Even your toaster is going to have an IP address. I'm like, well, maybe I don't want my toaster to be on the internet. Maybe that's a little over.
Are you saying you don't want to have to patch your toaster? I mean, upgrading firmwares on toasters sounds like fun.
Well, there's a lot of inference that could be taken from that. Like, ever run a Socrest box or an old Cisco? It could be a toaster.
I know, I hear you. Oh, man, it's a pleasure. Where can people find your tweets to find that kind of interesting stuff that you're throwing out there?
On Twitter, I'm Viss, Viss.
Well, thank you so much, Viss.
Of course.
Cheers.